Here's the thing. You've just written your first book and you're really excited to see it in print. The only problem is, what is everyone else going to think? What if they think it's stupid or just plain dreadful? Perhaps you feel shy about showing it. What can you do? Hey there, Space Cats, it's me, Jules, with another video on drawing and publishing children's books. So, you're a bit shy about showing your book. Maybe you're a bit worried about what people will say. Let me tell you, I have been in this situation. In 2012, when my first book was published, I was a mix of thrilled excitement to finally see this book in print, 20 years in the making. And also huge anxiety about what people will think about it and what they will think of me. If they think my book's stupid, does that mean they think I'm stupid too? I have got some great tips to help you through this phase. And if you think that you can offer someone in the comments section some support, then go ahead and say something nice to them. You never know, it might make all the difference to how they are feeling about their book project. Let's start in the traditional way with number one. Number one, your book is not you. As an author or an artist, you have put so much effort into your project. You have spent months, maybe even years, thinking about this. Putting your project together, thinking it, rethinking it, editing it, getting it all together and making it flow properly. In other words, you might think that this book has really become part of you, but it's not you. When you finally put your book out there, you might feel scared that people are going to judge your book and judge you. I had exactly the same problem with the young adult novel that I wrote. It had a few saucy scenes in it, and I asked a friend to read it, and after she did so, I just cringed because I realised that that really wasn't who I was. That wasn't my voice, and it was really awkward. However, she's still my friend, a really good buddy, and she didn't judge me on it. She didn't even really mention it, and I've moved on. You need to realise that your book isn't you as a person. If your friends don't like your book very much, that doesn't mean to say that they don't like you anymore. It just wasn't the book for them. It doesn't mean that your book's rubbish. They can have their opinion, can't they? Your work is not you, don't forget that. It's a book. Number two. You have done your best. If you've followed my course or other videos on my channel, then you'll know that in the book writing process there are a couple of things that will be hugely helpful to you. One is proofreading, and there's a video up here that you can watch on this. You really can't proofread your own work because our brains aren't wired up to do that. You will just see what you want to see. And don't think that you can ask your mum or your neighbour to proofread something for you, because it is a really particular skill and you need to have it done properly so you don't find mistakes in years to come. The other thing that's really useful is editing. You can do your first edit yourself. Just check through it and make sure that you've got flow and that you've got no kind of stumbling blocks or where things grind to a halt. You might even find a few spelling mistakes or typos. But when you've done your first edit, make sure you take it to somebody who knows what they're doing with editing. Again, there's a video up here that will help you decide why you need to have an editor for your children's book. If you're not much of an illustrator, but your book has lots of images in it, then make sure you find someone that you can work with. Basically, you need to know your strengths and weaknesses. And if you've done all of these things and you genuinely feel like there is nothing more you could have done to this project to make it better, you've done the best that you can, well, you literally can't do any better than that. It's physically impossible. Keep that in mind, and that should really give you some confidence and make you feel a lot better about the whole thing. Number 3. Forewarned is forearmed. If your book has a very particular theme, let's say you've written something with LGBTQ plus in mind, you might feel more confident if you've got some good arguments up your sleeve. That way, if some narrow-minded person comes and quizzes you about it, then you've got something you can say without being defensive, because that won't get your message across. Think of it as educating people. Perhaps they've never come across this sort of theme before. Maybe not in a children's book, but why not? The more confident you feel about your story, the wider your message will spread. Number 4. Unattainable expectations. If this is your first book, I sincerely hope it's not going to be your best book, unless you only intend on writing one book, that is. You might be thinking, this book has to be perfect. It's the pinnacle of your career. Well, if you're thinking of writing a second book, you will have learned a lot creating the first, and your second should be better in some ways. Imagine in 10 years' time, you've written 10 books. Let's hope your first book wasn't the best one, otherwise, what's the point in writing the other 9? What I'm saying is, when you show your book to your audience, despite doing the best that you could for this particular project, you'll know there is more to come. So don't beat yourself up if you've made any little mistakes in the first one. Number 5. Everybody gets self-doubt. Everybody, even your favourite author or artist, gets plagued with self-doubt from time to time. Unless you have a huge and frankly unattractive ego, you will get some self-doubt. It's a good thing. It helps us to check our work to make sure we've done the best that we can. It isn't useful when it becomes so crippling that it crushes us and stops us from letting other people know what we've created. You need to find that balance. If you're watching this video, then perhaps you are on the crippling and crushing side of the line. So I'm here to give you a friendly kick up the bum. You have created a story. You have made a book. You're not operating on someone's brain. You haven't got the responsibility of having someone's life in your hands. But if you're lucky, then you might find that it makes a difference to someone's life when they read it. All you've got to do is share your story. Number 6. Nobody is born with skills. The only natural ability that authors or illustrators are born with is the desire to create. Everything else, literally every other skill, is learned. So your favourite book artist, they were surely just naturally good at illustration, right? No. They liked art when they were a child, so they did lots of drawing. And then maybe they did art at school or went on to art college. Maybe they got a degree. And then at some point, they got their first book published. And all through that process, they were learning. If you asked them about their first ever book that they produced, was it the best one? Were they absolutely 100% happy with it? Then they'd probably now say, not really. So if you are comparing yourself to the Neil Gaimans or the Julia Donaldsons of this world, then don't. You're not doing yourself any favours. And don't forget, they too have people that they look up to. We are all here being creative in our own way, and thank goodness we're not all alike. Number 7. You have done something. These people that you're worried about, what have they done? Have they done creative writing? Gone through the publishing process? Learnt new skills all by themselves? Probably not. So, what are you worrying about? You clever old stick, have managed to do something amazing. Or maybe you are worried about showing it to someone who does know a thing or two about books. Maybe you're a student and you've got to show your tutor. Well, there are two things to say here. One is that they might genuinely have something useful to say to you, something that will inform your decisions and your way of working for the future. So you can take that with both hands and feel really grateful about it. On the other hand, maybe they say something that you don't really agree with. Maybe you don't trust their opinion. This happened to me in my third year at university when I was doing my degree. My tutor just didn't seem to like me very much. No matter how hard I tried to follow his advice on the projects, nothing was ever good enough. He was condescending and contemptuous about my work. It was pretty soul-destroying at the time. But did I listen? No, I flippin' didn't. I followed my heart and became a children's book author and illustrator. What I'm saying is, you will know, you will feel if what someone is saying to you hits the right note. Your soul will know, so listen to it. If you feel warm and fuzzy towards that person, then listen to what they're saying. Maybe they have a point. However, if you want to yank their hair really hard, then reject it. You don't need it. Number 8. What's the worst? And lastly, ask yourself, apart from seagulls shouting all the way through a video, what's the worst that could possibly happen? Face your fear, dig really deep and find out what it is that you're really, truly worried about. Are you worried that someone's going to literally laugh in your face or say something just really horrible? In that case, you always have the final option, and that is to tell them to bing off. You can insert your own swear word there. Now, let me know if this has been helpful to you or if there are any other topics that you would like me to cover. If you'd like further artist tutorials, I have a variety of short courses that will help you. There are real-time sessions looking at painting, drawing and marker pens, among others. And if you're keen on producing your own book, there is a more in-depth course on what you need to know about self-publishing a book with illustrations. That covers making key decisions, how to make layouts and dummy books, rhythm and pacing, as well as several tutorials on illustrating a book and a look at the tech. You can either hop over to my website or join me on Patreon for more information. Go on, give it a go! Next week I am doing a cat video. I am literally putting a puss in boots. I'm off to cater for a caterpillar. I will see you next week. No.